All right, welcome back. My name is Thomas Brown.
Irvin Bryant
Shout out to DJ for making our beat
at DW made that on social media
and follow social media.
at kind of woke on kind of woke, not kind of KINDA woke on Instagram, Twitter, and then relatively conscious and everywhere else. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share it. Let's get that for real discussion going, honest discussions, because that's what we're talking about. Honest discussions about police reform and how us Black people talk about it. And is it, are we talking the real facts, or are we quoting the lines that we're supposed to be performing?
Yeah, and so Derek Chauvin got found guilty yesterday, and the first thing that really made me upset was we weren't allowed to, according to Twitter, we weren't allowed to be happy about that.
Yes.
And so they were like, this ain't justice, it's accountability. All these other lines people are quoting is still death to America, everything else, right? And I'm like, can I be happy that he's going to jail? Can I just can nigga not be happy about that? Because it felt like me breathing a sigh of relief about it and feeling happy that the system worked was like coonish to people. And I'm like,
it's a very popular narrative that we as Black people get complacent with small victories. Now, if certain people leveling this argument are arguing good faith and others aren't. So like if you're a leftist communist and you're like, y'all got complacent when you got money. And it's like, well, you don't believe in money as like a good.
Yeah.
So like I get why, you don't believe that prosperity is going to solve any problems. But others are saying, well, you can't celebrate and be complacent and be satisfied with any particular passage of justice because the struggle never ends. And that's when people started getting funny to me, because who said I was doing that? And how do you characterize this struggle? Because this is a good thing. Like somebody going to jail for murder. In any case, if you are actual murder and we saw you on tape murdering somebody and you go to jail, this is cause for relief. I'm relieved. Justice has been done. Well, so why can't I be happy about that?
Yeah, my thing was that I don't know, I feel like it was a way to score easy points. And I'm like, who are you dunking on?
Clout points.
Yeah, like who are you dunking on though? Like who's the person who didn't know the struggle had to continue? Nobody saw Chauvin get guilty and were like, we saw the police issue. No one said that. No one was thinking that.
Black lives finally matter, guys. We done.
Yeah, we're done. Black lives matter. No one said that. Everyone was like, okay, this is good, a step in the right direction. Let's continue. Because I was worried that if he got found guilty, we were gonna have a 92 LA situation across the entire United States of America.
If he's not guilty.
If he was found not guilty. And I don't know about you, but I don't like seeing cities burned to the ground.
In 2020, and that's definitely enough. That stuff is stressful.
Yeah, and so I'm not one calling us criminals. I'm not one to say any of these other things. I'm just like, I'm glad we don't have to do that again. That we can breathe a sigh of relief. And people are out here dunking on people, and it feels like an all-star game dunk. Like you threw up the alley-oop and you threw it down. And I'm looking around like ain't nobody in the paint though. The next thing I want to talk about is there have been several incidents where police shoot people, and it's more complicated than what it seems on the surface. So the girl last night, even somewhat Dante Wright in some other incidents, and people, the left Democrats, I don't know what to call them. They're just like, nope, we're not going to talk about the nuances. This is a tragedy. How dare you bring up the nuance? And that's really killing me, because if we can't talk about the nuance, what are we talking about then? Because then we're just high-fiving each other on TL.
And if we're not talking about the nuance, we're talking about the truth is my problem.
Yeah.
So like if it's kind of like American history, where like we want to be nuanced when it comes to actually a few different things. So like in this story of slavery, we want to be nuanced and like tell the stories of resistance where people just didn't like lay down and take it. That's important because that's the truth. It is like, Black people did not just like I'm a slave now, I guess. Like that's just not how it went down. And then you've got in recent history with like the drug war and things of that nature. And it's like, well, I just chose to sell crack. And it's like, okay, well, what, there's all these climate issues, and there's the way that the drug war, criminalizes and penalizes and all these other things, and the problems weren't actually getting solved. People were just getting thrown in jail willy-nilly. We're interested in nuance because it's truth. And it's like there's the master narrative of the winner, the guy who killed the other guy who won the war. And then there's the excuse my academic language. There's the subaltern narrative. That's an ugly word, I know.
Yes.
But of the loser, right?
Yeah.
The downtrodden, the least of these. Shout out Jesus. And what about his perspective? That's where the nuance comes in. Okay, we know that nuance means truth. We know that we got to look at different perspectives. We know that. 1619 project. That's the whole purpose, is to look at it from a different perspective. So, and I guess we think, and I guess it makes sense to be like, oh, well, as the murder victim in a police shooting, or as the victim, the dead person, let's say that, because some people in police shootings are aggressors, right? As the person who's dead, I am the subaltern. I am the loser. And I've got to jump to his defense because he's dead now and he can't tell a story, and I got to tell it for him. And I got to be gracious because they're not going to give him any grace.
Yeah.
But which is noble. I believe that. I mean, just, as I just said it, right? That ethos is, I believe that's a good idea. But I think that the nobility in that dies when you're not concerned with the truth. Like if Tony just died and I just saw it and they're telling me Tony was a thug and no one's coming to his defense, and I said, you know what? I've got to be not even devil's advocate. I got to be Tony's advocate because Tony was a real person. He's not the devil.
Yeah.
But if I ignore that Tony, he was finna shoot somebody and that's why they shot him, then it's like, you're not doing a noble thing anymore because you're not telling the truth, the whole truth. Sure, he was a father. Sure, he worked his job every day. Sure, he worked in the church. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But if he was a murderer, then it's over. And of course, most of these people aren't murderers. But I'm saying once the guilt gets into the situation, the nuance happens, then it's not so simple as he should have never have died, because he should never have died, but he put himself in harm's way. Just like the police should never die in the line of duty, but that is what they're in harm's way.
Yeah.
So when you as a civilian put yourself in that plane where people die because guns are shooting.
Yeah. And so I think what problem is,
simple?
well, I think one of the problems is that American society kind of sees criminals black and white. And so if you have a criminal status added to you, then your death is something I don't want to look into. It's just, wrong. It's just, you just died and you died at the hands of police, and that's whatever. Right. And so in try to drill past America's black and whiteness on when it comes to criminality, we go the opposite direction. And there's just angel glow on everyone who dies at the hand of police. And I'm like, that's not how that works. You can have a nuanced discussion. And part of the problem, I think, is, as I thought about it more, is that the right's not present in any discussions because, as I showed you Ben Shapiro's clip, they're just wild. And they're just out here saying the wildest.
Right. Like yeah. So I don't, as I do the dead man's advocate, the guy who lost in the conflict, as I have to do advocacy for this person, you're giving them like zero grace for real, like no love. And so when I do that, we're not even looking at the same truth. You could be dishonest and I could be dishonest, or we can just both be operating with zero nuance. And so we're both close to the truth, but we're not embracing the whole truth. Because I think like everybody's always like, you're a liar. Maybe neither of you are liars, and you're just both looking at half of the truth. Then you can't discuss. And so like Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson literally can't and they don't do it because it's not fruitful and it's just ugly and stupid and a waste of everybody's time, get on a conversation, a panel with Sean King and no name the rapper and Dr. Umar, Charlemagne the God, right? I'm trying to just pick, popular Twitter people. And so those two groups I just named, some of them more professional pundits than others, but they all have the influence. They can't have a discussion because they're both operating on a half of the truth based on the dogma and the mythology that if you got shot, you earn that hoe, you earn that bullet. And on the other side, there's no way to earn a bullet. And it's like, okay, I hate to be that guy, but literally the truth is somewhere in the middle. It like literally is.
Most of the truth finding process is a yin and yang between both sides. And so if I was talking about the Soviet Union, United States, and I was going yin and yang between the two, I would find the truth somewhere in the middle as I examine both narratives. But both of these narratives are shrouded in myth and mythology about who the police are and what they are supposed to do. And if I'm supposed to break down Dr. Umar's talking points, I got to extrapolate and like break down some myths he got about things going on to the 60s. Same way with Ben Shapiro. And at this point, I done done too much work and I'm not a PhD, so I don't feel like doing this anymore. And so like, the truth finding process, it's just a tweet and I guess that's what it is, And most people, unlike us, don't have college degrees or don't care enough to do all that. And so
I have
guess
a college degree in biology. I mean, I know how to research, but
not
that. And I don't care. Like, I mean, I care like, I don't like violence and death, but like y'all are finna do all this beefing and I have a life to live. So
yeah.
I'm out.
And so like the 16-year-old girl who died last night, the two sides are talking to two totally different things. Right. And so one side is like she was a child and child shouldn't die at the hands of police. And that's all they're saying. That's it. I don't want to talk about anything else. That's what I'm talking about. The other side is like, well, she's about to stab somebody, so she got what she got. In the middle, it's like, okay, well, maybe we should talk about de-escalation. What is it that we want people to do? What is it we want the cops to do? In situations. But that's
also, why did this girl have a knife? And like, I doubt that the public has. This happened a day ago, so I doubt that the public has that information. But like that is, I don't see people asking. I know people are invested in that question. I know human beings, like there are a few.
Yeah.
But like at large, we're not like, what happened here? We're just like, no, it should have never happened. I want to know what happened here. Why you have a knife? Just like the 13-year-old boy with a gun. Why
in Chicago.
Gun?
Yeah.
And it's not, we do it often. Again, the punditry really poisons the well. Punditry, I think, like I often say the internet was a mistake, but like punditry was a mistake. We should have never started doing that. But like, that is a question that like on behalf of the children, like not accusatory, because a lot of people ask that question accusatory. That's why half of the conversation doesn't want to ask that question, because y'all always want to say why he got a gun, because y'all violent. No. But why does he have a gun? Because like protect the 13-year-old from a gun. Like he's like, who is putting him in this environment where he needs a gun, thinks he needs a gun, has access to a gun? Like all of these questions, he is not at fault. Why is he there?
Yeah, and so when the BBC reported on this, the people from the UK were commenting on it, and they really like got to that question first. They're like, okay, besides the shooting and everything else that happened, what is a 13-year-old kid doing with the gun, and why is he at 2:30 in the morning, and why Chicago got this many deaths in the last year, and what is going on here? Like, it's not supposed to be America. What are y'all doing? And I really makes you take a step back and be like, well, those are kind of maybe the real questions we should be asking. Because like the question with the split-second decision the cop made about whether the kid threw a gun down and when he had enough time to figure out what was going on. Should a cop not shoot at all when the hands go up? But what if the guy had a gun in his hand right before that? All those questions are like real nuanced, real hard questions to answer. But before we get to all of that, how did we get into a situation where 13-year-old has a gun at 2:30 in the morning running from the cops? And I don't think we want to deal with that, because I don't know, maybe does the left think we're in bad faith when we ask that question? Not the left, the Democrats. So,
because we're conditioned. That's what I think the punditry and all the dogma, especially of Day is Gone, because the 20th century, by and large, Black people were without a voice on the matter. So it's it's just y'all are criminals. And every time any discussion it's like, I'm not trying to hear it. You're a criminal. That's why y'all are thugs. That's why y'all do this and that and the other. And so we've got mad calluses about that. And we're just like, no, shut up. But one thing that came to my mind when you said, kind of the order of the questions being asked is this morning I saw a very good video that kind of complimented a piece by John Oliver a couple weeks ago about recycling.
Yes.
Right? And the NPR thing this morning was really good. And it was recycling someone else's problem. It was kind of a short film, like 15 minutes. And it was just a kind of like documentary style interviewing these people who work on the recycling supply chain. And so they did all the stuff Don Oliver was talking about with like people thinking stuff is recyclable and it's not, and all the like Byzantine structure and how it's kind of like broken. And so like we've just accepted this disposability, but that's the root of the problem.
Yeah.
So we're like, focus on recycle. We'll save the world. And it's like, I mean, sure, recycling can help, but the core of the issue is way before that. And y'all not even looking over there. So like the core of this policing issue is like way before, like the criminality, the presence of police, the need of police, the role of police is way before you get to split-second decisions. Should we be putting people in jail? Qualified immunity, police unions. Before we do any of that, the conditions that they bring about these situations is like unaddressed.
Yeah. And so I think my main problem here is that we're talking about things. And if you're just, and I hate that I'm using this, this ism that people like to use. We're reactionary in politics. And instead of being like actionary about, solving problems beforehand.
Oh, being proactive. That's
being proactive. And I don't know, some people use that to like jump out of discussions that are too hard for them to deal with. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we're being reactionary. But like, I do believe in the police problem, the problem of mass shootings, any of these things, we're kind of being reactionary. We're reacting to everyone. We're just reacting to every time someone dies at the hands of cops, every time there's a mass shooting, we just react over and over again. And we never deal with the base problem. And so it feels like we've all just decided mass shootings is an American problem because our gun control measures aren't going to really solve these issues. Because we had a video breaking it down. And I know people from the Democrat Party aren't stupid. They have to know that. They have to know it's not going to solve those issues. And so why propose them if it's not going to solve the problem?
Right. Like, and we know like the criminology knows that the police issue isn't open season on Black people. We love to say that.
Yeah.
And that ain't true. There's just no such thing. Police kill people.
Yeah.
And they kill too many people. And so we're not addressing the root where this is far too much violence and how the poverty works together with the violence and who's doing that and why.
Or the access to
drugs and, gang. Like, we used to be concerned with the gang thing and we just kind of dropped it. In like Chicago, we'd be like, oh, this is crazy. And we kind of just forgot that it was crazy. But like, that's why that little boy died.
Yeah. And also, like, we don't talk about the guns issue. And I guess we just all decided that everybody's got to, like, people have guns. And that's whatever it is. And so,
well, I mean, the gun control measures are supposed to stop the whole everybody's got guns.
But it's not going to, though, because like Chicago has the strictest gun laws and they still have guns coming in. And a Democrat would respond, well, that's because Chicago's not an island. It's got borders. Those borders don't have any gun control laws. And I'm like, well, if you put gun control in all the United States of America, we've got borders, Canada and Mexico. I mean, the cartel can smooth move from selling you a dime bag of weed to selling you a Glock 19. I can do that all day, every day, as Cat Williams says.
Also, Smith & Wesson is not going to let it happen.
At all, yeah. And so all these issues seem to be like a problem to where, and I think the problem is, because, Antonius Brown, I'm a cynic. And so I think the problem is, if you get to the root of these and you start looking at it, you're just like, well, I guess there's no way to solve this issue. And we're just kind of doomed to keep doing this. And every time a child dies at the hands of police, it's like, well, I don't know how to change that. That's just kind of what we're doing here today. And like I've become okay with that because, you know, Jesus and everything else, you know, I got faith. So that makes it easier to look at that situation and be like, yep, that's why we all need to have Jesus, because our human body is damned to live in a world of depression and despair. And that's why I'm trying to go to heaven. But like people who aren't trying to do that, though, I don't know what you do. I think that's why people created. If you don't believe in God, I think people create religions.
Political religion, like our salvation is in racial politics. Our salvation is in condemning, which is truly bananas, though. Our salvation is in condemning all criminals, or all those who we deem, you know, unsavory.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, interesting choice. I mean, you know, the racial justice is just now kind of getting carried away, but like that's carried away off the base.
Yeah,
because like at least, you know, you're like, well, fighting for Black people progress will be our salvation, and it's like, you know, we've gotten to the point where it's kind of an internal thing in many problems. We can better address them internally than externally because the external pressure is not what it used to be. But when you're talking about imprison everybody, beat them down, lock them down if they step out of line, it's like, okay, off rip, this is weird.
Yeah,
it started off crazy.
Yeah, and so it's crazy. I don't know how you do it, but I just cannot stand people talk about it because they're just talking about. I don't know. The conversation feels to be
honest.
Yeah, and it also feels like I'm talking to people. I don't know, because I don't know. Ben Shapiro believes he's a genius, and so he just acts in that way. I do not believe myself to be extremely smart, but I'm just like, I know you guys. You people, you read books and you think. And so I'm like, why are you choosing to do this though? You could do something else. You're smarter than this. Why is this your response?
Yeah, and it's not even people on Twitter, but like people who have like the platform for real. Like the people that I named earlier, like you have, you know, a CNN show, you have a podcast, and like you're like Van Jones, or what's that man's name? Bakari Sellers.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, I don't want to say it's like this is your job because I do more things than just a podcast, but like you can half do a drive-through job. Like you can suck at, you know, handing out burgers and taking orders. People do that all the time. But like don't suck at public discourse. You know, don't half-ass that.
Yeah.
You're poisoning the well, my guy. Like people are trusting you with getting informed, and they shouldn't just take their opinions as their own, but they do. And so most of the opinions suck. And they're not, you know, they're not taking in part of the whole truth. And so don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Last thing, Van Jones, if by some happen chance you listen to this podcast, stop crying on my TV. I'm tired of seeing you cry on my TV. Please stop doing that. After the Derek Chauvin verdict, he was crying on TV. And I'm like, if you don't stop crying on my TV, man.
I don't know if they give him points for that. And like, it's crazy because there's really some toxic masculinity stuff. So stop crying, but bro, stop crying.
I mean, yeah, maybe I'm toxic masculine. Maybe I'm doing everything else I'm not supposed to do, you know, but seriously, bro.
Like only the deepest of familial pain makes me cry. I mean, that's gotta be,
yeah,
you know, somebody done died, somebody didn't hurt my feelings in the family. Anybody can hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna care.
Yeah.
you can kick my dog right now, and I'm just gonna be like, hey, stop it. I'm not gonna cry. So yeah, the sentimentality, all the fake wokeness, Nancy Pelosi saying that BS.
The writers.
Kente cloth. I didn't forget about the Kente cloth kneel.
Yes.
With them, that was stop it. It's not helpful.
Or the Raiders tweeting that out and being like, I'm not going to delete it though.
But he was, yeah. So at the end of the day, Will Smith said it best in a trash Nigerian accent. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth, bro. Armin Sons Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace.